We'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Gangster Chronicles podcast. It's your boy Bigg Steele, along with
Jill. We in the building, people. Wake y'all asses up.
Yeah, there we go. Also, we have the Patreon page, the Gangster Chronicles Patreon. Y'all been asking for it. We got it. Uncut, raw episodes on. We could be doing some everything on there. We could be giving them some lives. You know what I'm saying? The good thing about that is there ain't no censorship, so we can get blunted. We can go in there and do whatever we want to do. So y'all gonna see some wild and crazy shit.
Yeah, because we tired of the censorship shit.
Hell yeah, so, get our Patreon, and you know what? It's a pretty good deal. For $7.99 a month, we gonna give y'all a couple of exclusive episodes you can't see nowhere else. We gonna bring you some lives, and also you'll get some exclusive invites and invitations to some of these events we about to start having. So go check out Patreon.com/Gangster Chronicles podcast. Sign up today. You know, speaking of controversy, we have one of my good friends in the building tonight, David, Mr. Mixx Hobbs from the infamous 2 Live crew. What's happening, Hobbs?
So, brother, how you doing? Other soul brother, how you doing?
What's happening with it, man?
Hey, I'm on this side of the grass, not the other side of the grass. I'm good.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. I see you out there working. You just came back from Germany and London and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it was very cool. I mean, I was stationed over there years ago in England. Matter of fact, that's kind of where I got into the hip hop game, not really knowing that I was getting into the game. I was in the service straight out of high school, and that was my first base location. I went to England, and a lot of the DJs and MCs from New York, they were coming to London to do a lot of exhibitions like 82, 83, 84. Africa Islam, Rocksteady Crew, a couple of other people. And I would hear about these things at the military. So I went up to one of the events, and that's when I seen Africa Islam, and I seen Rocksteady Crew. I was just in the audience. I wasn't in it at all, but I was curious about hip hop. Being from California at that time, 1980, 81, you would hear Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, but at that time, nobody knew who the hell Grandmaster Flash was, because you wasn't hearing no scratching any of that stuff, but you was hearing Sugar Hill Gang, you would hear the Crash Crew, a couple other groups, but you wasn't really getting the so-called, underground New York element in all the other places. You know what I mean? I didn't know shit about it until I got, to England, and a lot of the East Coast guys was coming over with turntables and this and that. And that's what got me into wanting to scratch, seeing Africa Islam doing it.
Yeah, for sure. I tell a lot of people, because, I used to run around England a lot. I've been to England probably 15 times, man. England is only 4 hours away from New York. So they were kind of around during the early days of hip hop. They was kind of getting stuff in real time, versus the rest of Europe. Right. So is that where you picked up? That's where you bought your first drum machine at too, right?
Yeah. Matter of fact, like I said, I was raised in Southern California, right outside of LA. I was raised in Santa Ana. And my parents moved out to Corona. I went to school out there in Corona. Like I said,
what high school you went to? I've been in Corona for a long time. What high school you went to?
I went to Corona High School.
Okay,
I stayed right off of Surfers Club Drive.
Okay, you went to the Panthers, man. Corona.
Right.
Yeah,
the red and gold. I stayed right off of 91, off of Surfers Club, where In-N-Out Burger's at.
Okay, I know what Surface Club is, where the AM, PM, and all of that shit is right there on the Surface Club. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I coach Little League football in Corona for 10 years, man. Corona Chargers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
So they got a serious football team over there.
Yeah, they got serious football team. Big billboards. We used to have They used to have over 300 kids sign up every year to play for the Corona Chargers. So big football program in Corona. Shout out to City of Corona, man.
Wow. You know, what's funny, I moved out there when I was in 10th grade. I was in 79. I don't think it was like 20-something thousand people in Corona at that time. And I was one of the few specks that was out there. I don't think it was like 15 black families in Corona yet at the time that
now that's all it is out there.
Yeah, it definitely was. I think I moved out there when they first started developing, but part of it was nothing but orange groves out there everywhere.
Right, next to Corona High School, nothing but orange groves.
Yeah, it was nothing but that whole city was nothing but orange groves and shit until they started developing and building.
Yeah, now it's a lot of brothers out there. A lot of cats stayed out there. I know a lot of people, a lot of celebrities out there too. I know Kendrick was out there for a minute.
I stayed out there for a minute. Shit, I stayed out there for about 8 years.
That's crazy. So you in the military and that hip hop bug bigs you. When did you start putting the group together? How did that come about?
Well, the funniest thing about it is that when I was and I know Eiht will attest to this, in LA, if you wasn't no pop locking nigga, you was nothing. If you wasn't banging, you was nothing. But it wasn't really publicized, you know, outside of, you know, California. I mean, the whole California scenario, if you didn't know how to pop or you wasn't gang banging, you was nothing. You was invisible. So I wasn't banging, so I was in the pop locking. So what happened was
I started motherfucking pop locking and shit before I started banging and shit. Breakdancing was real heavy. They used to have little contests and talent shows and shit. Niggas used to have little crews and shit. We took high to that pop locking and shit. It was a part of the culture, if you want to say. You feel me?
Right. But, exactly.
Unfortunately for me, I got led to, you know, like you said, you was either banging or you was breaking. And so if you wasn't banging, you definitely was breaking. You was windmilling, pop locking, all that shit. I couldn't windmill and shit, so I started banging. Fuck it. I could pop good like a motherfucker. But when it came to nutcrackering and windmilling and all that, atomic dropping and that shit, I said, man, fuck this shit, man. I'm about to start banging for the hood. Fuck this shit.
Hey, you knew how to pop lock?
Man, like a motherfucker, man. I used to enter contests and everything. Me and the homies and shit. Nigga used to go get our Fila sweatsuits or our Sergio Tachinis, nigga. Into the contest, nigga, have our routine. Nigga be fucking it up. But shit, nigga, by the time you turn 12, 13, niggas in the hood is serving. And nigga, you got niggas you going to high school with pulling up in brand new whips and shit. And that's when Dayton's first started cracking. So, nigga, you know, that was the Nissan trucks, the motherfucking Volkswagen Bugs, plush seats era, man. So, niggas was like, man, fuck this pop locking shit. Ain't no money coming from this shit. You know, you learn wisely. And then you got time, you know, as a kid, man, that still didn't alienate you from getting sweated. So, nigga, you going to places, riding buses and shit. Niggas is pulling up on you, asking you where the fuck you from. You an innocent little kid, like, where I'm from. Like, you know, so a lot of that shit was going down around that time. Right. So you really had to make a decision. And for me, you get me, 9th or 10th grade, we wasn't moving to Corona. We was still in the hood. So, nigga, it was time to pick up a heat and a rag, and nigga, you from the set, and that's what it was. Fuck it. Niggas was like, fuck that breakdancer shit, cuz. Nigga, you from the hood, nigga. Here go your bandana, your strap. Here go your sack, nigga. Now, nigga, like you a private in the army. You feel me? Right. Shit. So that's the route I had to take.
Man, I just, you know, my thing. I know that
I take your motherfucking head, nigga, and swallow that motherfucking, throw that motherfucker to the bulls.
You know, the crazy thing about it, right, is that most of the people in different parts of the country, I mean, it's quite obvious in the late 70s, early 80s, nobody was really moving around, flying around. Nobody knew what anybody anywhere else was doing. It was just your immediate area. That's all that mattered. Nobody had a clue what was going on in New York or Philly or this place or that, and didn't give a fuck on top of that because you just felt like, I mean, when I went into the service, I was shocked of how many different people it was from different parts of the country, and they talk different, and they slang is different. And you know, New York niggas say y'all will come to LA and mop shit up and this and that, and it's just people wasn't traveling enough to really know how people really got down. So when, like I said, when I got stationed to England with all of these New York guys, and they're telling me about the break-in and this and that, but I'd never seen turntables be used the way that they was using them. And guys was telling me, he said, yeah, man, little stuff here and there. It was kind of a culture shock because when you're just hearing the records, especially from California, you know, the turntable stuff didn't start happening until maybe, I don't really know when Uncle Jam's Army started out there. I don't know if it was like 83 or 84, but I know that it wasn't happening before I left. I had left like in early 82. I know they wouldn't do no this shit before that. If they was doing it in LA and I just didn't have no clue that that's what they was doing. I don't think so, but like 83.
Yeah, well, you know what? Actually, Uncle Jam's Army, but it wasn't popping off yet. They started around 78. But it wasn't popping until, you know, it wasn't at the stage that it was when they were doing the stuff in the what was that they were doing that stuff at in the LA Sports Arena?
Yeah, Sports Arena. I could say because I think I didn't start peeping out Uncle Jam's Army until they hit the, you know, K-Day and shit. And I think that's when they really start cracking off around the motherfucking Egyptian Lover, early Ice-T, you know, them days, you know,
right, like 84.
But that was where you went to as the source of getting your motherfucking hip hop was listening to K-Day. And then like another thing, like, yeah, we didn't know what the fuck was going on in other parts of the country because shit, unless you went to places like, you know, some families did fucking, you know, family reunions and shits like that. And that was basically the only time we got to travel as kids. Right. So, and then by that time you were still naive to shit. You get me? I didn't see none of the shit I saw as a 13, 14, 15-year-old, you know, going back down south to Mississippi and places like Texas, which I'm sure, you know, niggas was active or getting it in, but you was naive to shit like that. You stayed in your own circle. So we didn't know what the fuck niggas was. I didn't start seeing what niggas was getting down like until I started making records and started going on promo tours and shit. Then I started going, damn, there's niggas out here and these niggas out here and niggas over here and shit. So you know, those family vacations and shit and traveling, like I said, they kept you secluded to a lot of shit.
Right.
Yeah, so you were in there, you met the other guys that were in the group in the military, right? When you were in the service.
When I got to my second location, when I was in England, just like I say, once I seen Rocksteady and them and Islam, I went and got me some makeshift turntables and a makeshift mixer, and I had turntables actually in my barracks room. So I'm in there practicing what it is that I'm hearing on records. And, you know, once I seen Islam doing what he was doing, I said, okay, so one hand is on the fader and the other hand is on the record. I didn't have no clue of how they was making the record scratch. And then, because basically the scratching is like if you're scratching your arm, your hand is going back and forth. That's basically what they're meaning by it. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't have no clue. I was just totally green lame about what it was that you're hearing on these records. But all we had back in those early days was imagination. Niggas wasn't seeing no whole bunch of stuff, you know, but when you're hearing it, and especially in those early records, you know, it's funny how Grandmaster Flash wasn't doing no scratching or cutting or anything like that on the early stuff, but we would hear the birthday song and the freedom song and what was it, Rapper's Delight and the Apache record. We're not hearing no scratching, but it's quite obvious they was full-fledged doing that stuff at that time. It just wasn't on records at that time. And then Malcolm McLaren showed up with the Buffalo Gals record and was the McGraw Supreme Team and all of that. Then you're starting to hear it, but you still ain't seeing it because there ain't no MTV yet. There's no videos. So you still just hearing stuff, you know what I mean? You didn't have no clue. Places other than New York and New Jersey and Philadelphia, nobody else had. I know nobody else had a clue. Oh man, God damn.
Well, we was as far as West Coast is concerned, around, like you said, around that time of listening to like you said, Grandmaster Flash and them, you didn't hear no scratching on fucking Sugar Hill Rapper's Delight. You didn't hear no scratching. White Lines or none of that type of shit like that.
Right.
But as far as us over here on the West Coast, you know, we pretty much got introduced to the DJ because a lot of niggas was making mixtapes over here. And so we had niggas like DJ M Walk. We had Dre was like niggas was really scratching over here. I don't know how that came about, but I guess niggas got an early glimpse of niggas DJ because you know Dre and them. That's how they got that those dudes from New York. You know what I'm saying? They first artists. They picked up niggas from New York. So they was all about knowing about scratching and shit. And I think we got, like you said, with Malcolm McLaren with the hobo scratch. And then over here, you know, Dre and them was scratching. Yella was scratching. So even with the Wrecking Crew, Dre had singles. Dre had a single called Surgery where the whole record. You remember Surgery? Man, that
that's when I
motherfucker
first got back to the States. I was in
that
England.
motherfucking record was killer. You talking about a nigga who was scratching his ass off. And so about around that time, you start hearing my nigga like you and Mixmaster Ice and like niggas who could really get down on the turntables and shit. And then we start seeing that was very significant. Like you had to expose the DJ and give him some props because shit, most of the time them was the breakdowns in records when they first started. Niggas wasn't doing hooks. Niggas was scratching on their hook. That's what we did. You feel me?
Right, exactly. I'm gonna tell you when I first got turned on to Compton's Most Wanted, y'all woke me up out of my sleep with the video y'all had because y'all had the Yellow Man shit going through the record. I'm saying, man, I'm tripping and saying, man, how the hell Yellow Man on my TV at 3 a.m? And then I'm looking and I'm seeing, you know, about the Compton killing. Then I said, okay, well,
definitely. We were different with our music, man. Like I said, I always tell people, Slip was our producer, and Slip, man, he would find records, you know. So we had different sounds and shit that you would probably typically use as a West Coast rap group. You know what I'm saying? Our sound was pretty different. That was our introduction. That Yellow Man, at one time gaffled him up.
Right. My man doing about 100. You see, and then the other thing about it, the other thing about it though, Eiht, is that before you showed up, nobody, you know, whether it was Dre or Cube and them, nobody really had the LA accent on their records. You're like the first one. Ice-T, none of them. They didn't really, you know, your voice. I know it because I'm from the area, but other people wouldn't know it if they don't know what it is. If you ain't a California, just wouldn't know.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people back then was kind of emulating what was going on in New York. Eiht definitely did. When CMW came out, Eiht definitely was, you could tell like this dude is from Compton.
Yeah, for sure.
You feel what I'm saying? He used the lingo. Everybody else is kind of New Yorkers.
Yeah, we tried to be distinctive with it, you know. Like you said, we didn't want to get you know, Easy and them was already popular as a motherfucker. And we wanted to have our own identity from NWA. So we just tried to make our shit different as far as what we spoke about, the delivery, how we rapped on records, you know. A lot of their shit was up tempo. A lot of our shit was slowed down and mellow. So we wanted to basically separate ourselves. Not to saying that we weren't influenced and shit, because we was, but you know, you gotta separate yourself from shit, you know, when it's a lot of it going around. So, and that's just what we did, man. We came from a different part of town. Our gang banging and the way we came up, you know, might have been different than what a lot of other niggas was doing, even though we was all from the city of Compton. Everybody structured themselves differently, you know what I'm saying? So that's just what we did, being Compton's most wanted. We wanted to we just wanted to stay, you know, neighborhood with it, sinister with it, and let people not forget what really we was going through, because it really wasn't about making rap records and being fun and having fun. We was trying to tell niggas like, it's heated out here. Compton is cracking. It's a war zone, and it's all kind of situations: poverty, police brutality. Niggas can't get ahead. You know what I'm saying? A lot of niggas is uneducated and shit like that. So we just wanted to put that story out there. You know what I'm saying?
Right, for sure. It's just funny. It's just funny when you hear it. Like I say, I'm in Miami when I heard y'all stuff for the first time. And Miami is a whole nother animal. It's just totally different than Los Angeles or New York as far as the black side of the city is concerned. It's more Caribbean, you know. So if you not a Haitian, Jamaican, a Puerto Rican, a Cuban, a Dominican, or whatever, it was almost like when I got out there, it was like a culture shock. It was way different than what California was. It was like, to me, it was almost like ass backwards, but they had their own flavor and style of what it was that they were doing, but it was definitely different. And it was no rappers out there when we actually got to Miami. And you know, back to what you were saying, still, we kind of trailed off a little bit. I met the other guys when I got to my second base location, which was March Air Force Base in Riverside, and that's where I met Chris Wong. He was
in Mo Valley.
Yeah, Mo Valley, right off of Alessandro. So I met him. We both worked at the hospital. I worked in the dining hall, and Chris worked in outpatient records. So he would always, you know, I would be working the grill, flipping burgers and all of that. And we stayed in the same dorm setup. But like I said, word was getting around the base that there's some guy in there scratching and got turntables in his dorm room and all this other stuff. So that's how I met him. He came through the line and asked me about, you know, you see, yeah, I mean, I heard you got turntables in your room, and you know, I'm from New York, I'm from Brooklyn, blah blah blah, you know, and I was doing some stuff at my other base in Illinois. So you know, we just started hanging out from that standpoint. Just crazy shit, stuff that you would never think. You know how people, you know how you would meet people. It was just weird. I mean, it wasn't weird, but it was just back in those days. You just didn't know what you was gonna run across, or who you was gonna meet, or this or that, or who you would fall in favor with. You know what I mean? And that's definitely what that was.
So you met Chris Wong first. Now, Marquise, rest in peace. You know, I want to say rest in peace, Marquise. He recently just passed away, but Marquise wasn't in the military, was he?
No, he was still in high school, but we would see him at little parties in Riverside. There were some cats a guy named Spanky D and Funk Machine. They were doing parties out in Riverside, and we would come from off the base to go to the little events. And Marquise was out there, and Rodney O was out there, but they was also lightweight affiliated with Egyptian Lover because they would come out to the skating rink out there in Riverside and do parties. So that's how we all kind of met. And I seen, Mark cut somebody up, rapping. It was some cat. And like I said, I don't even really know how we met, but we was just out at different places, and I wasn't really DJing outside of the base. I wasn't really DJing nowhere. I would just see, like I said, Egyptian Lover and these other cats, they was doing stuff. And back in them days, nobody was letting you get on their turntables. They thought you was crazy. They figured they was the only one that had turntables.
Yeah, man. So it was you met Chris Wan, and then there was another guy in the group.
Yeah, Amazing V. He was another person that was in the military. He was from New York also. And he was a little more versed in hip hop stuff. He said that they was doing little DJ stuff before he came into the military. He knew how to scratch and all of that little stuff. Not super duper scratcher, but he was familiar with DJ equipment. So what we ended up doing, we was just listening to all of the hip hop from 84 to 85, people that was coming out with records, which was Mantronics, Run DMC, Fat Boys, and there was a gang of underground acts that most people don't even know exist, but they would have records out on Profile Records, they had records out on Tommy Boy, they had records out on Prelude and Sugar Hill and different things. So we're listening to the records, and I'm constantly in there practicing. I'm trying to get, doubles of every record so I can scratch and this and that. So one day, some people turned me on to this record pool in LA called Impact Record Pool. Foot had the
rest in peace, Foot.
Yeah, rest in peace.
I remember Impact.
Was running the record pool. So we would ride out to LA all the time to get our records, and then niggas is really feeling like they special because now I'm actually getting records like I'm really in the music business. You got the records before everybody else, and they're kind of free because you're only paying like $50 a month for the for the record.
For the dudes. Mm-hmm.
But we get boxes and boxes of records. It was so funny back in those days, man. It was like the records that you knew about or the major labels went in one stack, and all of the independent record companies with records you never heard of was in another stack. That stack never made it to the turntables, which is terrible because it probably could have been some good stuff in there, but you just never gave it out to see if it was.
We biased shit. We wanted what we wanted, and we knew what was the hot shit out. So yeah, that's like a nigga giving you a well-known CD by a nigga and then a nigga selling his motherfucking tape in front of 7-Eleven. You gonna be like, man, shit. As soon as the nigga hand you that motherfucker, it's out the window somewhere. You feel me? And the bad thing about it is some of them niggas probably was potential future artists. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But that was just the biased shit you had. You get me? Like, nigga, I ain't never heard of this nigga before. Nigga pushing this shit. I was like, nigga, you probably give me a sack of bad dope right here or something. Nigga, let me get rid of this shit right quick. So as quick as a nigga handed to you, you giving the nigga shit to frisbee test on the highway and shit.
Throwing that shit, throwing frisbee in that motherfucker out the window.
You ain't never gave nobody the frisbee test still?
Man, a whole bunch of times, man. You get some stuff, man. But you know what, though? It depends on their presentation, too. It's been a few cats that I met, man, that actually wound up becoming like, that's how I met Glasses.
Okay.
And I didn't know who he was, but he had this confidence about himself. I said, man, this dude might mess around. Let me check his stuff out. He at least got the dash test, and I heard it. and his voice was the first thing that caught me. I said, you know what? You know, you can tell somebody a little green, but they got talent.
Right.
Because his song structure wasn't really cool, but you could tell he could rap. He was a natural at rapping. You feel what I'm saying? And so I was like this. And so I started kind of linking up with him. From then, I gave him my number because I listened to him right in front of him. And I said, here, man, take my number down, bro. And I got his number, and we've been kind of rolling ever since then. I want to ask you this, so was Vince out there in Riverside with y'all too?
Vince?
Amazing V.
Oh, Amazing V. Yuri. That's his real
Yuri,
name.
his name is Yuri.
Yeah, his name is Yuri. How a black person got a Russian name, I'll never understand that.
Yeah, I would have never thought that. I just figured it was Vince. Amazing V. So you met him out there, right?
It's crazy though that, you know, a lot of motherfuckers who don't know symbolize y'all with Miami, and to know that, damn, all of y'all met in LA. You feel me? Like, that shit is crazy as fuck. Because I didn't even know that. When I first started listening to y'all around y'all era, the Shy D era, you know, I'm like, these niggas all from Miami and shit. Never, I would have never known in a million years that niggas was right in Riverside and Mobile when they all hooked up.
Right, for sure. You know, the whole way that we got to Miami is like some needle in a haystack situation. With when we were listening, like I said, the hip hop records, and I'm practicing and this and that. You said, man, you know what? Let's try to go into the studio and see if we can emulate what it is that we're hearing on these records. Let's see if we can make it happen. Let's see if we could try to, you know, we have some money, you know, being in the military, you know, that's one thing about the military. Everybody feels like, you know, nigga shouldn't be in the military. A nigga should be in the military because you're getting a vocational skill that you would never be able to get, but you just have to go in the Air Force or the Navy. Don't go in the Army or the Marines, though. Them the motherfuckers that go to war and get shot up.
You thinking you there just to get some money and the education. Next thing you know, nigga, they put your ass in the
front line somewhere.
Shooting at niggas you ain't never met in your life over some motherfucking foreign policy bullshit.
So we have went into a recording studio. Matter of fact, now this is the funniest shit. The 808 drum machine that I ended up getting, I didn't have it when I was in England. When we had won I had hooked up with some other cats when I was in England. We set up a pop locking group, and we had won second place in this big contest that they had out there. And we got like maybe $600 worth of studio equipment. So I got a drum machine, some microphones, a couple other little things. It was a Roland 606 drum machine that I was able to get out of the voucher that we won. So I was able to program on that. And then, you know, come to find out, when I seen the 808 drum machines, which was way out of nigga league to be able to purchase at that time, I seen that it programmed the same way as the 606 machine. So when I was coming back from one of those trips from Impact Record Pool, I'm riding down the street and I see an 808 drum machine in the pawn shop window. So I'm thinking I'm seeing things. So I busted you to go back around to see what it was. It sure as shit, it was an 808 drum machine. A button, I think the tap button was missing on it. And the dude said, man, give me $300 for it. $300 for an 808 drum machine with a broken tap button. And I already, like I said, I knew how to program it, but it was the steal of the century. And as I'm doing, practicing scratching and all of that, I got the 808 drum machine hooked up to my DJ equipment. So I'm programming the beats and then scratching along with the beats. And so that's what made me really feel like I can actually have a sporting chance of competing, because I'm hearing what I'm hearing myself do and hearing how these beats are being made with some of these guys that was doing Run DMC's them stuff and Rick Rubin them and all of that. And I'm kind of able to program the same way. And Mantronics them, that's what made us feel like we had a sporting chance to be able to go in the studio and do something. So there was a studio out in Montclair off of I-10. Went out there and cut a single. Amazing V was on one side and Chinaman was on the other side. And that it's like I said, if you don't have imagination and intuitive thought process, we figured out when we was getting all the records from LA, we would start seeing these West Coast records, and it was they had, like I say, Egyptian Lover had his record out, Egypt, and they had Dollar Freak and all these other records. They had Bacola Records, but they had the whole address at the bottom, the address, the phone number, everything.
I like mail demos to those addresses.
Like, come on up here and give us your money. We will press whatever the fuck you got the money for. Come on up here. And we're going to cut a few for ourselves out the back door on the side. So come on with it.
hey, so Hobbs, let me ask you this, right? Back then, that's how you kind of got your foray into production, because pretty much back then, if you had a drum machine and some scratching, that was the beat right there. It wasn't no bunch of keyboards and stuff. You might hear a piano sound here and there. You feel what I'm saying? But it wasn't a whole bunch of real intricate melodies going on those records.
That was considered cheating. To keep it 100, there was people that just I would imagine there was all kind of musicians, bass players, guitar players. We said, no, you can't come. It's not going to be authentic.
No, the shit was simplified. We're going to get the drum machine with an 808 kick and get a break beat, nigga, and throw that motherfucker in there, nigga, and we got the song, nigga. Let's go. First of all, we ain't got no motherfucking money to be hiring studio musicians.
Right.
And then back then, motherfucking studios was costing $1,000 an hour and shit. Right now, nigga, you set up in the crib, nigga, and that shit is freebie. But back in them days, when you recording on 2 tracks and shit, and the 2-inch reels, and shit, nigga, the prices was high as motherfucking giraffe pussy to get into a studio. So you had to get in that motherfucking. Yeah. You had to get in there, get in that motherfucker quick, lay your shit, try not to fuck up too much, and get up out of there. Because it was ridiculous, the prices for studio. Like, that's something you just couldn't do. You see how music nowadays, motherfucking shit, it's so simplified right now. But back in them days, man, it was fuck.
It made us better cats though, because we wasn't necessarily one take Jakin, but you had to, the record that you did had to work. You just didn't have money.
You can go in there experimenting for sure. So let me ask you this. Mixx. When you first heard, because you said the Amazing V was a little further along than Chris Ron was, right?
Right.
Did you like the way Chris rapped at first? Was you a fan of his raps at first?
Not necessarily from the standpoint of how you would listen to other rappers, but his the guy that he liked the most, which he did sound like the guy that was rapping on Mantronix records. That's who he got his style from. So if you listen to any of his name was MCT. He got his style of what he was doing from him, and then also by Chris being, Trinidad, Chinese and black, nigganese, he's kind of like reggae influenced also. So, some of his timing wasn't all the way right. He wasn't no musician, but he just knew by being out of the atmosphere of New York, he had, a lightweight clue. He just wasn't a musician. So, some people just naturally can just fall into a groove, and then some people just love the vibe of being able to try to be in that. They're going to just make themselves be a part of it. I would say that that's how he was. He made himself become the rapper that he actually became. So he just didn't have the musical chops. He wasn't that type of cat.
Okay, so y'all get this record done. What do y'all do with the record after y'all get it done?
Shit, we went through. Matter of fact, we probably looked on Egyptian Lover record for the Bacola record, the phone number, and we called up there, We called her and said, hey, man, we got a record. We want to see if we could bring it up there to you guys. You know, Don McMillan, come on down. Yeah, come on down there. Bring it on down there. Let us check it out. So,
come on with it.
So we drove up there. He didn't. I don't even think we played a demo or nothing. We just said, is it on master reels? Yeah, we got the master reels. So we took him up there. He took the reels from us, and then about 3 weeks later, we had some motherfucking test presses, and I said, God damn, this is how easy it was to get some test presses. Man, we all was tripping. We got like 15 test presses, and then we got like a box of records after they did the initial run of them to take them back.
Did they charge y'all for them?
Huh?
They charged y'all for pressing them, right?
No, he just took the master. We didn't pay for nothing, but they knew that we were green as fuck. They knew that we didn't have a clue what we was doing. We was really feeding them.
Hey, Steele, I think you took the master.
You got the master, so he went out and made him some cheese then. Because back then, everything was selling. Everything in hip-hop was selling back then.
I nigga knew they didn't know a goddamn thing about music. You got the master? It was like, yeah, man. He was like, okay, he was like, nigga shot him up. Look, he shot him a box of records and was like, and then he was shipping they shit all overseas and everything. Probably he was backdooring it and everything. Like shit, right. I got the masters, nigga. And you don't get no motherfucking account of how many I done pressed up, how many done shipped, and so, nigga, please, nigga, that was the ultimate get down back then with them labels.
I'm sitting up here waiting. Left and right. Did he give y'all a contract? Did he charge y'all for y'all records? How many was pressed up?
No, I will say they did give us a contract to have the right to distribute the stuff because technically it was our record company, so they had to, give us some paperwork to say that they had the right to press them up and this and that. And like I say, at that time we used my mom's address in Corona as the record company. We couldn't use the military address, so we used my mom's address for the records. So the records are coming there to the house. I should say the invoices was coming to my mom's house. So they said, okay, yeah, some 300 records went to St. Louis. Some other records went to Seattle. Some other records went to Miami. Some records went this, that, and the other. It would say $3,000 on the invoice, but ain't no checking it. But you just said, okay, well, damn, okay, so the records are moving around. We don't know shit about promotion. We don't have no clue about anything. I mean, just nothing. So 3 or 4 months that was going on, but I constantly kept seeing people was ordering the record from Miami. We constantly was seeing Miami all the time. So what ended up happening is I was over there visiting my mom, and she said some guy named Luke Skywalker called here for you. I said, I don't know nobody. No Luke Skywalker. So he left the number. So when I call him back, like I said, niggas are so goddamn green. It's laughable now. I mean, you can laugh at yourself being green in those days. You can really laugh, look back and just have a good laugh about it. So when I called the number, rotary phone, I think it was a tap phone at that time. So I'm tapping the phone, dial it. Then you hear the shit, beep, beep, beep. I said, what kind of fucking number is this? What kind of number is this? The nigga, it was his beeper number. So, but, who knew about beepers? If you wasn't in the streets, you don't know nothing about no goddamn beepers.
Yeah, for real.
So I guess he, I didn't know how to, make it work or whatever. So I guess he figured that, he called back. But, I didn't leave no number of where, I was calling from. So I guess I did it a couple of times. So I guess he kind of figured that it might have been us trying to reach out to him. So then I got on a conversation with him. He told me that he was a concert promoter in Miami. You guys' record is doing good down there. I'm up here tripping, right? So y'all record is doing good here. I want to bring you guys down here to do some shows. Okay, all right. I'm looking at the phone like kind of stymied, like, damn, is this how it works? And so they say, how many people is in your group? He said, well, we got people that's break dance. We got people that do this. No. I don't want all those people. I just want to know who's on the record. So I said, yeah, me and 2 other guys. So he said, okay, I'm gonna get you guys some flights to come out and come do some shows out here in Miami. So I'm saying, wow. I mean, I didn't even know how to take it for real. I didn't know if he was bullshitting or not. We hadn't talked about what we was gonna get paid for those shows, nothing. So you could tell by my conversation it was green as fuck. Because he had already been doing parties with Run DMC, Houdini, Tila Rock from out of New York, Divine Sounds. All of those guys was coming to Miami doing underground rap shows. So he was, and he, even Egyptian Lover, he had dealt with Egypt and Bobby Jimmy and them, Russ Parr and them. So he had been doing the stuff for a little while. So he knew that we were just totally green, twice the square, the whole shit. So he got the tickets and stuff for us to come out, to fly out there and do the stuff. We, like I say, we just flying out there willy-nilly, don't know we supposed to have a hotel. We wondering, okay, we didn't even ask about no hotel. We just got on the damn plane. I mean,
going.
God must have his hands on us or something.
But he took care of y'all though, right?
Yeah. We was, he got us, hotel rooms, and he still hadn't talked about no money yet. We did a show on a Saturday, and we did a show on a Sunday because it was Labor Day weekend. So we got over there in the neighborhood that he was from, and he said, "Man, what kind? How much money y'all want?" So he paid us $200-300 each for that weekend by flying us out and all that, right? So we're equating it to, well, shit, that's what we make in 2 weeks in the military. What he gave us, that was a paycheck for us for 2 weeks in the military. So I said, okay, well, I mean, that's what it is, and that's what it is. So I asked him, could I stay down there a week? And he let me stay down there at his mom's house. Just moving around, just peeping out the scene of what it is. It was very cordial. He could tell that, like I said, he was a few years older than all of us. And he just knew that, I guess, the thing that connected us, Kid Ice had a lyric in his record said, like Luke Skywalker, I got the force. Every time I rhyme, I am the boss, whatever. And Luke was telling people out there that he knew us based off of that line, like we talking about doing the DJ shit.
He said he milked that promotion, nigga. Let me get this off.
You can't make this shit up, man. I mean, it's just, the story gets funnier and funnier as it goes along. It's just
so I want to kind of speed up ahead now because I want to, get to the real point, right? Mm-hmm. So y'all doing this right now. Amazing V, I know his woman at some point decides like, you got to go get you a job. This rap stuff ain't happening.
No, he was in the military. He was like, he probably had a better job than me and Chris. That's probably the main reason why he didn't want to continue on. He was doing civil engineering. He was a plumber.
Okay.
Not a bullshit job. I'm in there flipping eggs, and Chris is working
burgers and stuff
like a professional secretary or something. So, and at the time that we went down there to Miami, I was just getting out of the service. My 4 years was up. And Kid Ice and the dude Yuri, they're still in. They ain't even supposed to be flying to Miami. It's like you go 100 miles outside of the military base, you AWOL. So especially if you ain't got, but it was Labor Day weekend, so motherfuckers had time to get back and this and that or whatever. So
you didn't go back,
huh?
You didn't go back.
I didn't have to come back because I was already out. I had been out of the military for 2 weeks. So it's like as soon as I came out of that, I fell right into this situation. Just you can't make up my story. You definitely can't make it up.
Well, let's keep it going then, man. So you down there in Miami and doing your thing. When did Luke proposition you like, hey man, I want to do something with the group? Or what happened? How did that come about?
Shit, I propositioned him. Basically, I said, man, I don't know anything about this stuff, man. I see that you guys got these speakers and the shit be sounding good, sounding over the system that you got, and people are coming down. That's when I met that following week, Schoolie D, from Philadelphia. He came down doing the PSK record. I met him. So I'm just in the zone of stuff that I ain't never really been exposed to, this, that, and the third. So I meet him. So I said, man, this is, dude got people coming down there, and it seemed like everybody liked this cat. You know what I mean? He never really had no real animosity shit. It didn't seem like he had those types of issues or anything like that. So I asked him, I said, man, I don't know anything about this shit, man. Do you think that you can manage us? That's after I came back home and we went back for New Year's to do some more shows that we didn't negotiate no price for. I'm asking them, say, hey man, I don't know anything about this stuff. Will you manage us? He said, yeah, I don't know shit about managing, but I'll do it. Fuck it. Let's do it. So I guess, he's seen that, he just knew that the record was doing well in Miami more than we could ever think that the record was doing. So here's the next year. When Chris got out of the service like 5 months later, like in May, we came down to Miami. We didn't have nowhere to live at. We just came, we just drove. And we ended up living at Luke's girlfriend's mom's house for like 40 days. I mean, obviously he had to talk to the mama strong enough to make them say, man, these niggas don't know how good their record is or whatever. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be all right. Just let them be here for a minute until I can get them a place, get them an apartment. We was at their house 40 days, sleeping in the living room.
Wow. Wow. So stuff is taking off. So needless to say, McCullough was making some money. It was worth the investment then. Right.
But now I did pull a fast one on McCullough. They thought they was pulling a fast one on me. I pulled a fast one on them. They said, hey man, when you gonna do my album for us? I said, okay, yeah, I'm gonna come down there and do an album. So he said, yeah, man, I'm gonna give you some money for it. I'm gonna give you like $1,500 for the album.
$1,500 for a whole album?
Yeah, $1,500, right?
Them times was treacherous for niggas, man. Them motherfuckers was robbing us blind, my nigga. I'm telling you.
$1,500. Like, I'm gonna give you a whole 15. And back then, by the time because you produce everything, so I guess they figuring but they go at least pay for you to record it?
No, I guess that was obviously just some money just to solidify the fact of me doing the project with him, right? So what I did, I said, man, I'm gonna trick this motherfucker. He think he doing something slick to me. I'm gonna do something to him. So I wrote on the contract, this is an album for a rock on crew, not 2 Live crew. So he ain't paying no attention to that. He give me the check. I use that same check to be able to drive across country to go to Miami, and we start doing what we was doing down there.
And McCullough ain't never heard from you no more after that.
Shit, well, we heard from them about a year and a half later.
They said, nigga, we gonna wait till these niggas come up, and then we finna come at them.
Right, and that's exactly what happened.
So y'all down there. So you and Chris is down there with Luke. When did Yuri decide to lead the group?
Well, at the time that we was headed down there, slightly before we was headed down there, what happened was we were just letting all comers being a part of the of the crew in general, and Yuri just felt like man, you know, y'all being real loose with this stuff. You letting this guy be around and this guy being around. You know, I ain't really feeling that, so I don't really want to fuck with the situation no more. And he just stopped. He just stopped doing the stuff with us. And what ended up happening was now I will say this: when we was going back and forth to Miami the first couple of times, you know, like I say, it was so much of a culture shock. There was this record called "Dance to the Drummer's Beat." That was like the record that they would play at the heat of the party, right? Motherfuckers was going bonkers in there, and they was doing this dance called the Throw the D dance. So what we ended up doing is saying, man, in appreciation for you guys helping us out when we come out and this and that or whatever, let's make a song together. So we took the, you know, Chris wrote down what it was that he was seeing at the party, how these guys and girls was doing these dances, and I took the Dance to the Drummer's Beat record and freaked it when we got back to California. So that's what started everything off. Luke, like I say, Luke is not no record guy. He's not no producer. He's not no musician. But he's a hell of a concert promoter. You know, his whole thing was being like Al Heyman back in the day, Cool Jazz Festival and Fresh Fest and all that. That was what he was into. He was into marketing and promoting. So we do the record. He started playing the record out there, you know, off of a cassette, because, you know, at the time, you know, there was no way for us to get the record pressed. I didn't want to take it over there to Macola. So they were just playing the shit off of the cassette thing that we did in the studio. So he took the record around to a couple of different places in Miami. Nobody wanted to take the record. So he took his own money and started getting some records pressed up to give to the record pool. And that's how the whole shit started with the record company. You know, it wasn't nothing that he was looking at to try to be involved with. He was just really calling himself trying to help. And at that time, he didn't have no ambition of being no record company at all, period. It was just that the stuff was just doing so well when he was playing the records at the you know, at the parties that they was doing. So once that happened, you know, that's when we actually moved down there, because the single had been out maybe like a week or so as we had got down there. So he knew that there was some interest, and at the same time, once he started getting the records pressed up, he was able to sell the record COD to the distributors. So he was able to pick up some money by So I'm seeing the process that, you know, this shit might actually work. So we get the apartment. All the records are being brought over to the apartment. At first, they were stacked up along the wall, and motherfuckers wasn't moving. And then all of a sudden, they started moving, and then we just had to understand it. Okay, maybe this stuff is gonna work. We worked off of that single for like 10 months before we actually did the other songs and the stuff that ended up being on the first album.
Okay, let's get to that point now. So,
throw that D.
It's just you and Chris Wong at this point, right?
Yeah, Mark didn't come into the situation until Yuri totally left, and I told Mark, I said, look, if there's ever a chance I can do some work with you, I'm gonna definitely holler back and see if it's something that you could do with us. So when Yuri left the thing, I found out that Mark had went back to New York, because he was, like I said, him and Rodney O went to school together. They went to North High School out in Riverside. They was actually still in high school when I met those guys. They were still dicking around with high school stuff. So he reached out to Mark. Mark is like 18, maybe 19 at the time. He flew back out to California, and right in my barracks room, me, Kid Ice, Rodney O, Marquise, we wrote the first song that we did for our album, Too Live Is What We Are, right in the barracks, because we had to go out to Miami and we needed more songs to do at the show that Luke had booked for us, because we only had the one single. So figuring out other stuff to do. So that was done, and that, how he came off on the record let me know that, okay, he's ready and he's going to be a part of the thing from now on. And he moved out there with us.
Okay, so y'all in Miami now doing your thing, and y'all start working on the first album.
Yeah, after maybe like 3 or 4 months, we was getting up enough money to be able to start doing studio stuff. But like I said, the money wasn't my money. I'm just the guy that know how to, communicate with the engineer to be able to get the stuff done. So, Luke would never really come to the studio outside of, coming in there, just checking to see what was going on or whatever. But like I say, he wasn't no studio dude that way. And,
Now,
the
now
first
how did he become a part of the group?
Well, the way that he became a part of the group was Mark and Chris didn't really know they didn't have stage presence. They didn't know how to talk to the crowd in between the records. And so Luke is, he's out there on the road with us, as the manager of everything. And he's seeing that we dying on stage. So, the one thing Luke did do, he was, the Ghetto Style DJs was the name of their DJ group, just like how Uncle Jam's Army was. So they do a different type of DJing in Florida. They'll pull the music down and talk over the records and all that old school DJing. So that's what he comes from. So what he did is start doing the stuff that he would do as a DJ on stage to keep the people hyped up. And, he would say stuff in between the stuff before their rap parts would come up. So that ended up working out. And then, when I was doing my scratch show and all of that, he would tell him, yeah, he gonna go behind his back and then he was Ringling Brothers. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. He was a circus master. He was conducting the whole fucking show, nigga.
Right. So that's how. But the funniest thing about it though, Steele, he did it a couple of times, right? And then we go down there to the office. He hot about shit, and said, man, man, I ain't gonna be going out on that stage doing this shit and not getting paid for. Man, I got to get paid for what it is that I'm doing. I got to get paid. All the money's coming to him already anyway. So
now he want to cut. Now he want to cut. He want to cut now.
He want to cut of what he giving us on top of whatever it is that he could be skimming.
I'm already taking the cut, and now I want to cut of that because now y'all got me on stage too. So not only do I want my manager cut, I want my member cut because I'm a part of the show. Yeah, right. I'm double dipping around this bitch.
And so y'all doing these shows, and he's a part of the show now, and everything. Y'all doing y'all thing. When does it come up that y'all gonna release this first album?
It came out at the top of '87. Throw the D came out like in February of '86. We worked all through, without having another single or anything like that until '87. But there was other little groups that like Shy D's project came out, and
we used to bang. I used to bang some Shy D.
Yeah,
me
and him worked on the first record that he did, Gotta Be Tough record. We worked on that together. There was a couple of other little records that was coming out that was kind of pacifying the scenario, but we only had that one single. So as we're working along, getting the album ready and together, the We Want Some Pussy song basically was a DJ chant they used to say in the club. And that's the only record Luke is on the first album. Like I said, he wasn't in it that way. It was just me, Marquise, and Chris that was doing the stuff on the records. It was just that one thing that he was on.
So by you being down there, dude from California, you pretty much created the sound for the South at that time.
Right, exactly. There was cats. I didn't even realize this until maybe like 4 or 5 months ago. There was a couple of records that was around town that was being played, but I just really thought about it. It was the same drum pattern as the record that got us down there the first time. I wasn't even thinking of it. Other stuff was on top of it, but the drum pattern was the same. I said, ain't this a bitch? This record was super big out there, and people was copying what we was doing. didn't even realize they was copying.
That's why McCullough gave you the $1,500 to do the album, because they said we gonna get him for some more, man. We gonna get a whole album out of him this time.
Yeah,
we got the first one
please.
for free. This one gonna cost us $1,500.
Yeah, $1,500, nigga. Here you go.
So y'all doing y'all thing, Hobbs, right? Y'all doing y'all. When y'all hear me call him Hobbs, that's his. I shouldn't be calling you by your government name.
No,
so
okay.
Mixx, I ain't gonna call you Hobbs anymore. But
everyone's been calling me that for years. So I mean,
So y'all doing y'all thing, right?
Cool.
Y'all doing y'all thing. At any point, did Luke ever come to y'all and say, "Hey, Mr. Mixx, you go be the A&R. I'm starting Luke Records up. Here's a contract for y'all." Never, the contract never was signed.
Well, this is what happened. Like I say, we fall into the management thing with him. Nope, we're all just kind of like improving. You know what I'm saying? He started the record company stuff up based off of the fact that nobody would take the Throw the D record. So he said, "Okay, look, man, I want to give you guys shares in the company." I said, "Man, I don't want no shares in no company. I don't know shit about business. All I want to do is just do my part with making these records, making this music. And if you could do that, I'm good. I'm cool. Just pay me for what it is that we do on these records, and that's it. I don't want to be responsible or liable for something that I don't know shit about. I don't have no clue of what it is that's going on with this stuff." So he offered all three of us, me, Mark, and Chris, some money as shareholders of the record company. It just was too green to understand what it was that he was really coming at us with. And but with that being said, we were just dealing with each other as independent contractors. We didn't have no contract amongst each other at all, period. We weren't even signed.
So
making the records. I go in and make the records, Mark and Chris be on the records rapping. You take the records and start selling them.
So y'all doing your thing now. When did the big record deals start coming in? Like, when did the big distributors? I know he was making millions of dollars selling these records independently.
Yeah, but the thing is,
the first album went gold. If I'm not mistaken, the first album, 2000, what we got went gold, right?
It took like maybe he would, in those days it was so funny. You didn't have to give up the amount of records that you sold unless you just wanted to get that gold certification. You could keep that part a secret. A motherfucker would have to audit you to find out if that's really what it was that you did. And so he would always dismiss the fact of the record went gold because, once you say it did 500,000, now everybody's be thinking, okay, well, there's a gang of money there, this, that, and the third. So he was, tap dancing around that. But at the same time, there was other little record people that he was meeting. I remember we had did something for Twins movie soundtrack. That was maybe a year later, but he would get all kind of little offshoot deals that that I know that he got paid for them. Never really told us that he was getting paid for those things. He would just say, "Hey man, there's a record that we got to do," and we did it. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's really stunting it because everybody was living okay. Nobody was really in struggle.
So he made sure y'all had money in y'all pockets. Y'all had cribs and cars and stuff.
He didn't make sure that we had money in our pocket. It was just things was going, and it was deservedly so that we would get the money for what we did. I'll put it that way. It wasn't like he'd knock on my door and say, "Hey, Hobbs, I got some money for you." No, it was we did the show. We break bread after the show, and everybody went their own individual ways.
Well, that's show money. I'm talking about the records and stuff. You're supposed to get, if Eiht go on the road, he get paid for the show. But if me and him got a record, we don't be it. That's a whole nother thing.
You got to think about it at that time. You're dealing with the distributors, and you're on maybe 60-day terms, 90-day terms for the records that you're being invoiced out. So he was getting money from the standpoint that the records were selling through fast, but he wasn't really displaying the fact that, in order to keep making the records, you have to get paid for the in order for you to get paid for the records that they had at the distributor, you had to have a new one to make them break bread with you. And we didn't have an understanding that that's what.
Yeah, because, I used to work with Ground Level. You remember that, right? So the way the distributors worked back then was they would have what was called a reserve. They might hold 20% of reserve because records can come back from the store. You might have returns, right? So they had the reserve just in case. So with the distributor, like, okay, they have freedom reserves up if you give a new album. Okay, give me a new album, and I'm gonna free these reserves up for you. Because I'm gonna tell you now, he probably was seeing about $650 a record back then. Let me see.
Yeah, but the 650 is, you know, you gotta think about it.
With ground level.
Yeah, I did. It was my people up. That's where I learned the game from. Huh?
Nigga, them motherfuckers was shiesty as a motherfucker.
Bro, they wasn't that bad, man.
But ground level was bad, nigga. We had a record went through ground level. So you knew John Smith. John brought a record through ground level.
John
Smith was John's. They had a label called Native.
Oh, I remember Native. I didn't have nothing to do with Native. Native had a record going through there. No, what it was, though.
Yeah.
I knew about Native.
Native was my motherfucking attorney and manager. They had started a label and they called it Native. Yeah, we put a record through ground level, a CMW record.
That's crazy, man. Because you know he probably made about $3 or $4 million off that first album.
Yeah, I'm talking about
this is the thing. This is the thing that
them niggas was shy. Y'all was getting that money, nigga. Y'all was getting that.
Hold on, let me get it straight. No, I didn't have no ownership in them. They kind of like I did intern work for them. You know, I was a young dude at the time. I did intern work like for them. I didn't have no ownership.
Where was their office at, Steele?
It was in Inglewood, right by the airport. Right off the airport, right off La Cienega, right off the 405 freeway. You can see it in the black building.
Yeah, OG ground level. What happened to them?
Man, you know what? They wound up just letting it go, dog. They had a lot of records. They had hieroglyphics. They had a lot of people.
They had a gang of records. Like I know because, like I said, my shiesty attorney and them, they had started.
No,
Native.
I think what it was Native might have been shiesty, dog, but ground level pretty much paid people, dog, when they had to. The ground level paid broke bread. Mark and them was good cats. Mark, it was Mark, Jeff, and Rick Holcutt, a white dude. They was cool people, dog.
Yeah,
they paid when they were supposed to. Now, whatever label that was up there, now what would happen is usually the labels would get that check and decide, well, man, I ain't cutting up with this. And ground level might take the blame.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They did some shit. So, Mixx, what I'm trying to get to where the trickery come in at, right? Mm-hmm. So y'all doing these albums, he making money. What is he doing? Just giving y'all show money?
Well, we were getting show money and we was getting royalties, but we didn't know how to base the royalties. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There was never no contract. So we didn't have anything to base it off of. We was just getting money based off of, okay, 4 or 5 months passed by. Okay, we're going to throw up some money. And then, but you got to think about it. It's 3 of us. So if you want to give out 150 grand, so it's 50, and then that's that. But we're not basing it off of, we're not getting no layouts of what it is.
And really, you producing the record, so you could have been on some stuff like, you know what, I need my production money. I need,
Didn't I tell you I was
basically they was doing the game like, okay, niggas probably making $1 million, $2 million. And so to satisfy, I'm not gonna give y'all no reporting of how many records that was pressed or how many was shipped or whatever. What I'm just gonna do is I got a check for $1 million and these niggas don't know shit. You get me?
Yeah, these niggas a couple
so
$100,000.
what I'm gonna do is, and let's just face it, it's fucked up. But when you a hungry motherfucker and a nigga dangling 150,000 in your face, you like, give it here, man.
You young as fuck. You got to think about how young we were.
You're young and naive, and like I said, we didn't know much about the rap game. We knew how to make the music. We knew how to write the lyrics and shit, and we, as who we are as these artists, but nigga, I didn't know nothing about no publishing contract. I didn't know nothing about writers and 50% to the music maker and 100 writers, 100 public. I didn't know none of that shit. All I knew is I want to make a record.
Right.
And maybe getting a couple of magazines, nigga, a couple of limo rides, a couple of shows. That's what you thought being an artist was. Nobody set you down in the motherfucking nobody set you down in music 101. You get me? And said, okay, well, do you know anything about publishing? Do you know about writers? Do you know about royalties and all this and all this? Counting and how many records were pressed and shipped out, how many returns came back. You didn't know none of that shit. And so you don't get the knowledge to do that. A nigga go, here you go. You get me? And so to speak, let me distract you with this shiny gold chain or watch or this check. And you be like you said, as a young nigga, 19, 20, 21, back then, a nigga handing you 50 grand? Like, oh, nigga, please.
You gotta remember, and see, you gotta think too, I learned pretty much about the music industry from Mr. Mixx. I met Hobbs when I was 24. And he started explaining, I was that young, dog. Yeah. We've been messing with each other about 30-something years already, dog. Me and Skip was 24 years old.
The oldest motherfucker right now. You see what I'm saying? This.
Hell yeah, because you got to remember, Hobbs, that's why we had kind of like an advantage, because you had kind of taught us already the publishing is like a piece of pie. So I kind of knew already in these situations I walked into, I knew what was going on, because between him and Bobcat, they had already kind of schooled me on what was going on about the business of music. And then you got to remember, I had friends, like I had cats like Mark Gordon that owned Ground Level, so I knew how to sell the records. I knew how all that stuff worked already, so it was like you wasn't getting over on me with no shiesty shit.
Yeah, well, the thing of it is, at that time, though, I mean, at the time when I heard H First Number Project, I don't know how early you guys were doing stuff, but I know that that was like 1990, like the summer of 90 when I heard One Time Gaffing Them Up. I don't know if that was your first record, but that's when I was made aware that you guys existed. So at that time, at the time that I'm hearing this record, we're already 4 albums in. 4 albums at that time. 1990, we was 4 albums in already. And a nigga still don't really have a real clue, because nobody wanted to be the cat that was tapping you on the shoulder. And on top of that, would you believe them? You wouldn't even give the motherfucker the time of day, because the money that you're running across as a young black dude, moving around in Benzes and doing this nice homes, and then you're hearing the horror stories about guys in New York, they ain't making no money, they fucked up, but you're living good. Who's gonna question the scenario?
Yeah, you hear the horror stories, and I guess because we were all going through that type of shit. You feel me? We were all getting fucked by somebody around that time. But like you said, even for me, and I wasn't even making that much money, but just the fact, like you said, I'm still able to pay my rent, living in my own space. I'm able to not have to get up and punch a 9 to 5 clock. Nigga, I'm smoking and fucking and riding through the town, and niggas knowing, oh, that's Eiht, and you know what I'm saying? I got my little whip and shit, my little 190 Benz and shit, and I'm, you know what I'm saying? So you never know that. Oh, well, shit, nigga, if you got 150,000 and that nigga done got 1.5 million, you not thinking like that, because you figuring this is the position we be. You don't know what the executive, I don't know what he's supposed to make. The nigga who's going in there sitting at the table with the white motherfuckers and negotiating the contracts and getting the budget. I don't know what he's supposed to make. All I know is a nigga telling me here, this is what you're supposed to get. And I'm going, okay, I'm a young ass nigga coming from the block. You get me? I gotta hustle up my sack and money every day on the block with 6, 7 other niggas. So if a nigga handed me a check for 10, 15 grand, I'm going, you get me? And so we're naive to those questions. And it usually makes something that starts happening to where you start questioning, okay, I got a 190, but this nigga got a 500. You get me?
It always comes out. It always comes out.
And I got a little apartment over here in Compton, but this nigga got a $500,000 crib down the street from Michael Jackson. Something is not right. And then you going, I'm the nigga that's making all the beats.
Right.
Them niggas is the ones doing all the rapping and shit. Why we ain't got what dude got? So it's something that always, like you said, Steele, it's something that always comes out to make you question what's really going on. And like I said, for me, you can be naive for so long. You get me? Because like you said, you eating good. You're going out, bitches and parties and the nice drink, and you got a couple of new fits and starter jackets.
And the thing is, you got to think about it this too, because you always gonna have a contingency of people, even when you're doing right by them, to think you're robbing them anyway. So you might as well do the right thing. So when they do come with the bullshit, you can be like, "No, bro, I can show you right here." You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you should always.
As an older cat now, though, it's almost like it's a fade that you had to take back then, because even if a cat showed you the right way, at the end of the day, you might not, you might feel like you're respected, but at the same time, it's almost like now you're really trying to trick you. You can't win. You
can't win with this shit, dog, because you gonna always have someone that thinks, "Oh, he robbing me," and let's take it. This is the reality of it, is right. You either have to wind up making someone a part of the business, your partner, or let them just go do their own thing. And that's why my whole thing is this. I'd rather work with people who I can make partners, and we can do equal amount of work, and we can have this and do stuff together, because trying to be over somebody it ain't gonna last.
No.
Yeah, not only that, I will say this, though. When it all boils down to it, we've never had a problem of going into the studio and doing what it is that we needed to make. We could get in there and cook it up and make it be what it needs to be. The thing with Luke is that he had to be in the space of, I can't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. You know what I mean? And in the early days, it was okay, because if you didn't know no better, you can't do better till you know better. But the way that it got handled back then, when we found out how some things was done, I'm not going to go into specifics, but once it was found out, it was like, okay, man, okay, yeah, this is what it is that happened. So when can we go in and start making some more records? when can we crank this motherfucking machine back up?
I know that this is a long story, because we talking about a period of years, right? I kind of want to get into, because eventually y'all wound up doing a huge deal with Atlantic Records. It was Atlantic, right?
He ended up doing a deal with Atlantic Records. The thing with that, right? And like I say, this is still 1990. Niggas don't really have, the lawyers that you do know about ain't music lawyers. They're other kind of lawyers. So, and the ones that did have a clue of it, they were working for the company because they knew your ass didn't have no money. Your money's coming from them. So you didn't have no dog in the fight. You were just, really, if you had some success, you had to let it be, it was just a God thing. It was something that you were supposed to experience. It was supposed to go the way that it went, because I know that I came into the game not having a dime. I didn't have a hustle. I wasn't out there, I wasn't in the streets or nothing. So everything that I got basically was a profit. You know what I'm saying? I really looked at it like I don't know why he would handle us the way that he did. I don't know why he would do that, because he had the best type of cat that was dealing with somebody that was never going to challenge him, someone that was never going to really try the situation. And that's why I say it'll never be right, because some people can't see a gift horse for what the situation is. We were good dudes, and he still handled it the way that he felt like he needed to handle it.
Well, to play devil's advocate, in his mind, he might be like, well, man, I asked y'all if y'all wanted to be partners in the company.
Yeah,
y'all declined that.
Partners in the company ain't got shit to do with what it is that you're gonna make off of records being sold. That you're still responsible for making that part of the movie happen.
True that. Yeah, true that. You're supposed to pay.
So and then on top of that, the biggest thing with, I don't even think anybody has this story like the way our story was, from Move Something, Me So Horny, to Pop That Coochie, all of that stuff. There was, Pop That Coochie, that's when contracts did get put in place. But all of that stuff before that, there was no contract. So, but this is what happened. We were dealing with another booking agency, ICM. So he come to us and say that, hey man, we got a new, we got some people that's going to be doing shows, but they want contracts on us to make sure that we don't weasel out of any shows and this and that or whatever. So we did some makeshift contracts in 1990. The only reason why I know it's 1990 because the woman that I ended up marrying, she was in Miami at that time, and she didn't get there until 90. So this is when the contract was done. So the contract was done 4 years after we're doing stuff together, right? So nobody even looked at these contracts. It was just contracts that was just wrote up and backdated for the not management, but for the booking agency to see that we were signed to Loop Records, blah blah blah, this and the third.
And that's how he was able to go in and get the deal for Atlantic without having to consult with none of y'all.
Exactly.
He used those contracts right there, because I do know I can't go. Eiht is my partner in Gangster Chronicles, right? So I just can't go make a new deal and keep him blind on it, right? He has to be a part of that deal. You feel what I'm saying? Because he can always come back and say, hey, I didn't approve of this or that, right? So he had to have some kind of contracts, and he had to have some kind of contractual obligation from you guys in order to make that happen and facilitate that deal. Right. So he does that, man. When does all the trickery wind up coming to his surface? Because I know Joe Weinberg, the attorney, winds up taking possession of the company at one point.
But that was way later. Weinberg wasn't even around at the time that all of this stuff was going on. He wasn't even around. He may have been doing some, out counsel with certain things, but he wasn't a part of the company at that time. So what ended up happening is, it was like, what broke my back about it is that when he got the deal with Atlantic, it's all advertised on how much money the deal was. But he made it sound like, and the way that they disguised, Atlantic is at fault too. They disguised it as a distribution deal. They made it seem like they were doing distribution for Luke Records. So Two Live Crew still ain't signed to Atlantic. They disguised it as a distribution deal, but it's really a deal for him by himself. That's what it ended up becoming. And then when we got our first royalty checks from that, it was the lowest shit that we had ever got since we had been working with each other. Because we had went at the swipe of a pen, we went from being, independent contractors to workers.
Right. And they gonna tell you shit. We gave money to Luke, so y'all don't have a deal.
Because ain't no telling how much he got front loaded with. I'm pretty sure he got something before he turned in the album and after.
Yeah,
I'm sure. But like you said, he got a distribution
like $5 million.
Yeah, probably slid him
like $5 million. That's like the equation of of what a platinum album would be. He got like about $5 million to get the ball rolling with them.
On a distribution deal. He walked in and he said, nigga, I want a distribution deal for Luke Records. With the track record of what the group is doing, Atlantic is like, fuck it. Yeah, let's do it. But see,
y'all was putting out gold records back then when nobody wasn't going gold in hip hop.
The situation is it's the same shame. It's the same shit what happened to me with Unknown. Basically, we start doing records with Unknown under Techno Hop. And with the success of what Compton's Most Wanted was doing, he was able to walk in and say, no, don't give me a deal for Compton's Most Wanted. Give me a deal for Big Beat Productions, which is his production company. And so now he's with a production company. It's like, I'm going to just bring y'all X. And because of the success of CMW, they're going to go, okay, nigga, fuck it. We'll turn around and give you fucking $500,000 because your deal is probably for the next, back then, deals was for 5 to 7 years. You get me? You wouldn't sign and turn in 3 albums and you done. No, labels was like, nigga, you signing this 7-year deal. So he got a production deal for Big Beat. Sony cut him a check, and then he came back to us and say, we got to start doing this new Compton's Most Wanted record. You get me? We just like, fuck it. We didn't get no advances up front or none of that shit. It was just like, let's get in the studio and crack out this CM Dub record. And then so we couldn't. So by the time I started bitching and complaining, I was just, I'm like, okay, y'all dealing with him, but I'm the nigga that's putting out the music. So this is what's going to happen. Since y'all trying to play that flip-flop game, I'm not going to make no records. I'm not making any records. So y'all going to either kick him out completely and give me the deal that y'all got with him, or I'm not making no records. Because I'm not signed to y'all. I'm signed to this nigga, and I'm not fucking with this nigga. And he already know it, because I can take his ass to court right now and get him on all kind of fraudulent shit. So I'm just finna bust down and not make no records. And then I did it right at the time I just got through filming Menace to Society. So what y'all want to do? Y'all want to hustle and bustle in with a nigga who ain't got shit to give? Or y'all want to fuck with the nigga who's in the studio writing the songs and putting out the music? Which one you want to do? And they decided to go, okay, we're just going to stop fucking with Big Beat and deal with you directly. But it's the same shit. Atlantic go, nigga, we got to deal with Luke Records. So we don't even know what the fuck y'all talking about. And then when it's time for when it's time for y'all to put out that record through Luke, distributed by Atlantic, you ain't finna see no royalty checks. Money finna go from here to here now. Getting on because why? Because they done gave him all the money up front to do that. Probably done pocketed 80% of it, get y'all a little change to go finish it, and now y'all got to recoup all that because he done took $5 million up front. The videos is costing $300,000. Y'all going around the country doing promos and all. Atlantic is going charge back.
Yeah,
it's
and even at that time, I will say this: for what it is that you did, you was able to work your hand in the, good for yourself. Me, on the other hand, it was still 1990. We just came off of that. The whole thing was built around, censorship shit with the MTV Awards. All of this momentum, all of that, we get this low ass royalty check. So then I leave. I go to Oakland, and I'm just posted in Oakland, hoping that, I can get people to pay attention to what it is that they need to be paying attention to, because I'm the one who's doing all of the studio work and this, that, and the third, right? So what they ended up trying to do is they got, some offshoot guys that emulate my style and all of that. They couldn't get it done. So I guess Atlantic told him, say, hey man, you better try to get this nigga back over here. So he shot me some money to come back to do the album that got Pop That Coochie on it. And that was the first time, you know, we actually got an actual contract with him and got an advance to do the project. We got like maybe like 75 or something like that each to deliver the project, something like that. And we did the stuff, but then like I say, all of the, you know, nobody was feeling each other the same way after that. And you know, I came down to Miami and did the records. I went back to Oakland. And when it came time to do the videos and this and that, you know, niggas barely had cell phones at that time. You know, you catch a motherfucker, you don't catch a motherfucker. You got Sky pages, you might catch a motherfucker, whatever. And that was his other thing too. He said, man, I can't, you know, in some aspects, by me being a CEO of my own situation, I get the crossroads that certain cats come to. Some cats can make better decisions than others. He just felt like, man, I can't afford to give these niggas all this money and they, you know, they running all over, fucking holes all over the place. I ain't gonna be able to find these niggas when it comes time to work. So I gotta give them a short leash. But, you know, he made that decision based off of, he didn't really have to be that way with us because nobody was giving them no real hassle.
Oh, wow, you got kind of froze.
Yo.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, like I was saying, I don't know what part it froze at, but
no, he was talking about if he would have gave y'all something substantial, he might not have been able to find y'all. You know, I know we at an hour and 40 right now. Right. I want to get to the one part, man, where because Luke eventually winds up losing Luke Records.
Yeah, that's based off of MC Eiht. He went to prison, and there was a guy that was because I don't think he was actually there at the court case when it actually happened. That was during the time when the group was in hiatus. We weren't working together. You know, like from like 92 to like 95, we weren't working together. And there was a lawsuit that Shadi and them was able to come with, and the judge awarded him like $1.5 million. And Luke wasn't liquid enough to pay off the situation. So I guess he got forced into involuntary bankruptcy, and that's where the whole Weinberger thing came in. Weinberger was working for the company at the time, and Weinberger comes from bread. His family gave him an inheritance, so he already had money along with being a tax attorney. So he would loan Luke money, you know, to do certain things and this and that. Luke paid back. Loan him some more money, Luke would pay it back. Then it started getting to the point where he wouldn't pay him back. And it got up to like 300 big ones. And then he ended up kicking the man out of the office. I don't know what their dealings were, or, you know, all I know is what the result was. You know,
Luke said, fucking get your ass out of here. I ain't paying shit.
So what ended up happening is when he wasn't liquid enough to satisfy the debt of what this court order was, Weinberger doubles back and said, hey, man, I'll pay into the bankruptcy. I'll put another 8 from the 3 that you already done took. But I want some of these properties. I want this masters. I want the publishing, this, that, and the third. And that's what it was a transaction. You know, he always speaks on the fact that like the stuff was stolen from him, but, you know, he did that and got out of the bankruptcy, but never really speak on the fact that that's what he really did. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, at the end of the day, at the time that it was going on, that was right at the time that all of this stuff was happening. We had got back up and around each other and was saying, okay, we're going to make a new 2 Live Crew record. This is in 95. And, you know, he looked on his desk. He said, man, I got this VHS Ice Cube sent me out here. It's been sitting on my desk 2 months. You know, they, you know, trying to do a movie out there. I think they calling it Friday or something. You know, take this video and go to the studio. Y'all check it out, what he sent out here, and see if we can put some music to what it is that he sent us. And what he sent us was the infamous scene, the Hoochie Mama scene.
Mm-hmm.
So we wrote to what Cube sent on that thing, and that's how Hoochie Mama got done in 2 or 3 days.
Luke wasn't even on that record, was he?
He wasn't on the record.
That was you doing the chanting on that record right there. That had y'all back in the game. That was a platinum record, wasn't it?
Yeah, for being on the Friday on soundtrack, yeah. So it's just like I say, man. My thing is, I fuck with Luke so hard from the standpoint of me. I've never, I don't know if y'all ever watched the Malcolm X movie. It's like, say, man, you can walk in front of bullets 24/7 and don't think nothing of it. But betrayal is the last thing that you would ever think that a cat would do. I was on the same space with him, and I never was ever in no space with him. And then Mark used to always say, man, that nigga just took advantage of us. He took advantage. He know we was out here naked. Mark, he's got people that's on 8 Trey cats, and he took, Mark is from a different cloth than me and Chris. So he said, man, you just had us out here naked, out there with these Miami niggas and this and that. We could have been handled any old kind of way if we got out of line with you. I wasn't even on that space, but Mark definitely was on that space. You know what I'm saying?
So Mark wanted to tear some shit up then.
There was, I ain't even gonna speak on the other shit, but it could have went bad. It could have went bad. I'll just say that it could have went bad.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, and this is how you have to look at stuff too, because I've had partnerships that turned out bad, but then I will say this, man, when you do something that kind of changed the game, you got to kind of look at it like a player too and say, you know what, we was able to do some phenomenal stuff when we did it. We was able to, accomplish some phenomenal things, man. You went on to have a storied career. You know what I'm saying? I would definitely say that you and Eiht is definitely both first ballot Hall of Famers, so to speak, in this hip hop thing. You feel what I mean? Because y'all was doing it at a time when it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to sell records back then.
Right, exactly. Right.
And it wasn't easy, especially something called hip hop, man. So if you could, when is the last time you actually had a conversation with Luke?
The last time I physically seen Luke was at there was a thing that we did with I should say he did at BET for him getting an award for being a Southern hip hop pioneer and this, that, and the third. But we wasn't involved in the trophy. It was just him. You know what I'm saying? They never, the thing is, it's almost like, I guess if you're an outsider and you don't really know the true story of how the group actually functioned, you would look at the situation like it's Heavy D and the boys. Can't nobody right here, right now, name 3 of the boys cats. Heavy D and these other 3 cats exist, but you don't really know their names. You don't really know, if there was a particular significance with them or not. So Two Live Crew is kind of viewed in that way. You know what I'm saying? They think it's just him because he was so far out front with handling, the business aspect, and he was the most outspoken out of us. I wasn't really no talker at that time. Shit. Me talking now, I mean, you can't stop me from talking now, but back in them days, I wasn't really doing no talking. I was just doing the music, and even when I met Eiht, I remember I met him.
He came to your speech.
Soul Beat. I met him.
He came to your
I don't even know. I think it was for the Compton Most Wanted stuff that I met him. I was doing a video show with Soul
promo tour. We was on promo tour, and that was one of our promo runs. We had to come to your spot and do your show. So yeah, that's the first time we met. Out in it was up in the Bay Area somewhere, wasn't it? Or Sacramento. Yeah. Gang of trees around that motherfucker. I was forward to shit. Yeah, but that was cracking. Yeah, we was making our runs and shit back then. We were still pushing around for a minute, man. And so yeah, it's definitely a blessing to still be able to be around and tell these stories of, some of these horror stories of hip hop. You know,
yeah, we survived
because
Stephen King. Yeah, we was part of
yeah,
Stephen King.
you know what I'm saying? That's what I call it. I call it horror stories because we came through a rough time in hip hop. You know, with the
Right.
inception and then with us. You know, even though our music was on different, you know, shit, we still was getting harassed and sweated and not being able to do what we could do. And then to have that fall on you, you know, not being able to do shows and getting banned and stickered. Not only that, we had to stress out and go through, but on top of that, you got a motherfucker in your camp who taking all the bread and don't want to be equal with everybody. So that's why I say the horror stories of hip hop, man, because we're still able to be around here and tell, you know, what we had to go through. And like I said again, I tell niggas all the time, I wouldn't trade it for nothing though, because it teaches you something. Gives you knowledge to now, you know, you can invest in and tell motherfuckers, you know, I tell nigga every day when he talk about getting into music, I said, man, leave this shit alone. You get me? Music is not for the faint at heart, man. Unless you just got the will, unless you just got the will to do it yourself, and you know, regardless of what everybody say, and you can put some good people around you that's not out to fuck you from the gate. Because like I said, we come from the era of where niggas was fucking niggas straight up. It was a hustle. It was a hustle game. You know, a lot of the vets before us, or like you said, the niggas who was knowledgeable about this shit, didn't feel like instilling us with the values of, you know, we had to learn the hard way, getting fucked, getting corrupted, getting bullshit, fucked up contracts and all that. And we put out some of the best music around that time, you know. So, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Eiht just brought up something really important, man, and I can't let you off of here without asking about that real quick. Y'all was actually going to jail back then, man, for the music y'all made. They came, y'all got arrested at some shows, didn't y'all?
Yeah. You know, and this is the other thing about hip hop that's probably different than some of the other genres. Depending on what part of the country you're in, you could be subject to way more foolishness. This stuff was happening to us in Florida. It was the neighboring county. It's almost like, okay, so LA County, what's the neighboring county? Orange County is the neighboring county. Riverside is Riverside? No, that ain't a neighboring county. What's past like going to Bakersfield? What is that, Kern County or whatever? It would be like
that's Kern and all that. Yeah.
So let's just say you guys do a show in Bakersfield and the Kern County sheriff got an issue with y'all, and y'all shit is banned in Kern County, which fuck Kern County. It ain't nothing. But Kern County makes it out to be a big old deal to where everybody across the country think that your shit is banned everywhere. And then, you know, maybe Luke put extra gasoline on the situation to make it seem like, you know, our shit was banned everywhere. It was just in the neighboring county. And we actually, when we got arrested, we went to that neighboring county to do a show, and we had a clean show to do and an explicit show to do. Clean show we do first, no issues. The explicit show, it didn't look like it was going to be done. Everything went without a hitch. And when everybody was leaving, they caught him like a mile or so away from the venue and then pulled him over and arrested him. So it didn't actually happen physically at the event. And it was based off of the fact of the album, the Me So Horny album. If we didn't perform any of the records that was on that album, it would have been done. So,
but that's what the people pay their money to come see, though, in reality.
Right. And it was all kind of like, you know, maybe, who knows? Maybe just like I say, you know, Luke was a marketing guy from the standpoint of being able to beat people to the punch. Who knows? Maybe he already knew that, well, you know, they're going to arrest you. Well, shit, maybe that's, I mean, what could they really get us for? Fuck it, let's just do it. You'll get so much publicity out of the shit. You know, I didn't get, you know, him and Chinaman got arrested because they was riding together. Me and Mark was in some other cars. Mark had to end up turning this stuff in. They didn't arrest me because of what? I'm not the rapper. I'm the music guy. I ain't saying it. So when they sit up in the courtroom, I'm watching the shit on TV at my house. Yeah, they the ones that's on trial. They ain't even. That's how, goofy the situation was. You would think the whole group would have got, like you say, gaffled, but it was just them saying the lyrics.
So, man, I appreciate you, man, coming on. And we got to do this again because it's so much that was left out. And we can always gonna have you come back on, bro. And one of the things I want y'all to remember out there, make sure y'all go subscribe to our Patreon channel. It's on Patreon, the Gangster Chronicles podcast, because we gonna be able to have some conversations that are even more off the chain than the ones we have in the day, because right now we going through a lot of censorship. I would say probably 40% of the videos we put on YouTube are often demonetized for what I don't know, because it's not like we got butt naked women and nothing on here, man. I don't know what it is, man, but they want you to have everything clean cut. So censorship is still very much alive and well, man. That's why y'all go to that Patreon, man. Y'all gonna be able to catch us raw and uncut at our best. I know it's a lot of stuff that Eiht want to do that really ain't YouTube suitable. You know what I'm saying? Not that we really want to do nothing filthy, but go check us out, man. And Mixx, where can they find you at, man? Where can the people go holler at you at, man?
Instagram. That's the only place I be at. Mixx _2_live_crew. And then on top of that, I do the little things, maybe some YouTube stuff or whatever, but that's my main space of me doing things is on Instagram. Headed out to Berlin to go do some shows. The one thing about the group now that both Chinaman is gone and Marquise is gone, I'm still doing the stuff with the shows and all of that with it's almost like, I wouldn't say it's like the Temptations, but it's definitely still the same vibe. A lot of people wouldn't think that I would be out there still doing the stuff, but it's a tradition thing. It's like I look at the Two Live Crew thing as a franchise. Wilt Chamberlain ain't playing for the Lakers no more. Shaq ain't playing for the Lakers no more, but they still exist. You know what I mean? So it'll be new people that'll be doing some things, and I got new records that I'm doing that's in the same lane, same vein as that. And, I get, different people that come in and do features, things of that nature. So Two Live Crew is definitely still alive and well, definitely still moving around doing stuff. Probably be in a city close to you, all throughout this year. We got shows and all of that. And that's it, man. Just like I say, Instagram, Mixx _2_live_crew. And
is there a chance, man, that you and Luke could possibly get together to do some stuff? Y'all are the last remaining members, man.
Yeah, well, remember the movie Dumb and Dumber? Where they say when he's with the girl, and the girls say, not in a million years can you do things. And then what my man say, so that means I still got a chance. You just don't know. I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. I don't say, how they say, never say never, you know what I mean? But it just all depends. It's just like I say, if an offer that you can't refuse, as a grown person, pass on, because really, we ain't that mad at each other. We ain't that mad. Come on now. I mean, we done, chewed up a lot of the same turf and this and that. And by cats being young and not really having an understanding of how to hold your ground in particular ways, it's a shame on him moment. It'll never be a second shame on him moment. So you just have, it's all about if cats want to do that or not do it. And it's cool either way. It's cool either way. I'm not going to ever, I'm not one of them cats that feel like I got to shame you to get, my shine or anything like that. We did a lot of stuff. I look at him as an older brother from the standpoint of how we did some things. But as you get older and you see why some stuff was done, okay, I get why he did it, but maybe he didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? So I don't have no issue. If I was to see him right now, it wouldn't be like I would try to swing on him. And he ain't never been like that with me either. Maybe he ain't got no reason to be like that because he already won. So it's a situation. I don't see him in that way. I see him from the standpoint of what it is that we did, what's gonna happen? What happens if we go to the Hall of Fame next year? It's gonna be a melee at the damn in Cleveland? No, it's gonna be what it needs to be, cordial. You know, we accept our stuff, and you know, and that be that.
Well, man,
maybe that's what motherfuckers be wanting to have happen, man.
Yeah,
I don't think so, dog. I don't think, you know. I think people would like to see y'all reunited, man. But man, we appreciate you coming on, man, and we definitely got to have you back on, man. We definitely got to have you back on here, brother, for sure.
Shit, I'm gonna be a fly on the wall with y'all in a minute.
Oh, for sure, man. You know, and there we go. We appreciate y'all for tuning in today, and we out of here.
We are.